Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media, based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Monday, the 26th of August, 2024. And yeah, it's crazy to think that we're almost into September. That means we have, 4 months left of 2024. Hopefully, everyone's going to have a great week out there. Before we get started with everything, I would just like to go over that. This is the very first Fun Table session for 2024, so I'm really excited to get this together. A little background for those that are new to this. This is something that started back during the pandemic, and I was on the virtual tour with the band Alice from LA, and they had asked me to do some interviews to open up all of their shows. And I got this idea to try to do something different by having three of my guests come back that I'd interviewed. And at that time, I was taking questions, like really random questions from the internet, and I was asking the group these questions, and they were all kind of answering things. So they're just like silly questions. And then a lot of times with doing these, it started just splintering off into just like conversations about what was going on during 2020 and just random things. I remember some people were like giving us tours of their home and collections and stuff. So it seemed like it was kind of fun at the time because there was nothing that we could go do during the pandemic. So it was like kind of like a happy hour basically that I was doing. I just kept doing them. So as we obviously came out of the pandemic, then I was trying to get schedules together, and it's been very tough, including my own. So trying to get two people, three people, sometimes it was as much as 4 or 5 people together. But I love doing these. So if you've been watching any of my interviews, that's not what this is. This is very much a casual hangout, like if you're at a bar or a restaurant, or just at someone's house with 2 or 3 friends. And sometimes maybe they might bring somebody that you're not familiar with, so then you start talking to them, that kind of thing. And so if you have questions, if you're watching this live with us, then just put them into the chat via the YouTube channel or the Twitch channel. And I'll just throw those questions in. You can ask either specific guests, you can ask the group, including me, about things. And that's how we're going to do this. I definitely want to apologize that Leah Ingram's definitely under the weather today, so she's not going to be able to join us for this session. So she says she's very sorry that she can't be a part of that. Leah actually did maybe one of the third or fourth ones of these back in 2020. She's done 2 others. She's done one-on-one interviews with me. She always makes everything that she schedules. So Leah, hopefully you're going to start feeling better out there. So it's got to be something pretty serious when she's not able to make a commitment. But I am looking forward to this. And just to let people know, we do have a second one that is really close to getting scheduled. Again, people's schedules, and sometimes they're in different countries like today, so then it becomes just a really tough thing to manage. So when they kind of come together, it's really kind of almost like a miracle that schedules do. And if this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you can hit the subscribe button, that's great. I was looking through my analytics the other day, just kind of seeing who's new and who's not. And then again, if you're on the Twitch side, you can follow me over there. And that's how we're going to do this. So I do not do written intros for the Fun Table sessions like I do for my one-on-one interviews. I just say stuff off the top of my head to introduce each guest. So we will start with this guest. We just did an interview. That was maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago, with another guest. It was actually 2 guests. And so that's how I got to know her, through this other guest who I met last year. And then he is actually connected to the band Alice. So that's how he got to know me. So it's kind of interesting how these, chain link events kind of work. And she's a longtime musician, has a lot of great things that she brings to the table. And I'm interested just to kind of find out more about her, because it wasn't a one-on-one situation when we were talking last time. So all the way from South Korea, thank you so much for staying up so late, early, whatever you want to call it. Let's welcome in Annie Ko from Love X Stereo.
Hi.
Hi, Annie. How are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Good. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and have some conversation today. And I'm looking forward to learning more about you, and not just about the band and the music, but just kind of everything over there. So yeah, I'm great. I'm so glad that you can join us internationally.
Very, very cool.
All right, and we're going to bring in our next guest, which is a lucha libre luchador. He's been wrestling with Lucha Libre Volcanica. That's where I first saw him before the pandemic. I don't even know exactly what year that was, maybe 2017 or 18. I just saw him wrestle yesterday, literally yesterday. And that was great fun to watch him do his high flying acts. And he's also a huge music fan. We kind of found that in common when we did our 2 interviews this year. So I'd like to bring in Halcon Negro.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how are you doing?
Amazing. How are you guys?
I'm doing well, and sounds like Annie's doing well. So yeah, I'm glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Cool. Cool. So yeah, it's funny. Sometimes if there's a fourth person, then you can't see what the background is, so it doesn't really matter what I put up. And then since we have 3 people, you can see the happy faces. I'm like, why did I put that up there? And say, oh, that's right. It's supposed to be kind of the fun table. It's supposed to be fun and happy. So that's where we have those going on.
You can't tell, but I'm smiling also.
Well, that might be kind of a good way to go for people that are new to both Annie and to Halcon. Maybe we'll kind of start like Halcon. We'll start with you about why are you wearing the mask? Some people don't understand what that means and what the significance is, and why you aren't showing your face.
So I'm a luchador. Lucha Libre is a traditional form of wrestling in Mexico, and it's a way of keeping our identity hidden. A lot like superheroes. But the mask sort of, it is who we are. Uh, it's just, it's basically, it's our presentation to the audience, and what it just sort of gives a aura of mystique to the wrestler, because nobody knows who we are, what we look like. We could be your mailman, a school teacher, anything, but we're going out there and putting it all on the line for the fans.
Yeah, because even for me, I'm thinking I've never seen you without the mask, so I don't even know what you look like.
And yeah, that's one thing that just it makes it so unique and special, is there's people that I've known for 10 years, and they have no idea what my face looks like none. And like that's just, I think that's super cool, and it's a challenge also, keeping our face covered all the time. So when we get to the events, a lot of times we'll put on our mask as soon as we're in the car, to walk to the venue. Then we have our show, put our mask back on as we're exiting the venue. So try to keep it hidden as much as possible.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the original lineup of Kiss with the makeup on. That
Yeah.
they didn't want to be photographed without the makeup on, and it became almost like a quest for the paparazzi to try to catch them without the makeup on.
Yeah, I remember. And then when they finally did take the makeup off, it was, Kiss unmasked, and like a big deal. So, and I think there's another artist named Sia, I think it is. How
Yeah.
she had the hair, covering her face all the time. And it's it's just another unique thing I think it just really, builds the mystique, and, draws people in to, wanting to see you. And like you said, there's kids after the show that are taking photos, and then there's people hanging out, afterwards, like kind of watching to see if people are going to come out without their mask on, but we always put it on.
Is that something that you enjoyed, in the fact that you can walk around and people won't notice, who you are, try to bug you for a picture or that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a great way to just stay anonymous, that way, like you said, no one's gonna bug you. If by chance, like at the old place at Evolve, where you watch the wrestling, sometimes I would, like, if I would have to leave, like after my match, I could walk through the crowd and nobody would even know who I am. I could just walk right on through, and nobody would be the wiser.
Yeah, that's cool. I've always said that if I had the choice between being rich or being famous, I'd rather be rich. I don't care about the fame part.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just give me the money. And then Annie, for you with Love Exterior, and also all the the bands you had previously, 'cause I know you were in a punk band and some other kind of things you were doing.
Hmm.
Do you ever get to the point, of, even if, again, it's different for different people, but sometimes like when they're like in their bedroom starting to learn their instruments and that kind of stuff, they start picturing themselves playing some big festival in front of a big crowd. Is that
Hmm.
something that you look forward to, or is there something like, you know what, I want that anonymity too, so that it doesn't become crazy, where people are trying to hound you and bug you for stuff when you're on the road, or where were you on that timeline of things?
Well, I mean, I've never experienced that kind of thing before. I mean, till up till now, because we're not super huge and people, like it's not like we're super famous or anything. So I don't really know how to think about it. But I think like if I get super super famous or whatever, I feel like I can handle it though. Like if I was like in my early 20s or something, I would have like, stuff happens as we've seen from history. But now that I'm, quite mature, I guess. So I have never experienced it yet, but I think I can handle it. I think.
Okay. Okay. No, I think that's a fair statement, because I talk about some of the bands that I was into. And at the time, I just didn't realize how young they were. So, like, if we talk about, like, say, for example, Guns N' Roses, when Appetite for Destruction went huge, they're in the early 20s. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, touring the world and everybody knows you, everybody wants something from you, and then you barely know yourself at that point in your life. That
Hmm.
that no wonder that, Britney Spears, a bunch of people can start rattling off that. It's like, man, you get that massive amount of fame. It's like, I don't think anyone's really equipped to handle that. But then if you mature some and you can kind of know, this is who I am as a person, I can deal
Yeah.
with this outside stuff. That would definitely make sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, I think like I really enjoy music that comes out when, the musician is super, super young because, I feel like that's very, very special and type of music comes out and that, when you're super young, you have energy and you don't know shit. And yeah, but I mean, it'll be fun, I guess, to gain such popularity, but, I think nothing's really perfect or, there's always pros and cons. So, I don't know, like I should, experience it and then talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay, well, everybody out
Yeah.
there, once we're done with this, you got to start checking out Annie's band and everything she's doing, so that we can get to that point when she goes on the road, be like, there's 20,000 people waiting for them in an arena. So
That'll be cool. I'd love to have that.
Oh, yeah. It's like for us, to me, like it's a great way to sort of turn it off. Like when we're at a show and there's a large crowd, it's just a great way to, you know, disconnect from it. We take a like when I put on the mask, I'm there at the show, ready to go. But then it's a great way to, disconnect and be back, to who I am with the family and that kind of thing, like the real world, if you would. But
I,
yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm super famous either, I not. It would be great to go out to 20,000 people screaming your name.
That'll be cool.
yeah, and even like on a smaller level, that I remember in 2019, I was covering a show I was going to be photographing and reviewing. It was Baby Metal from Japan. And
Ooh.
yeah, and I was just my seat was going to be upstairs. There's this beautiful theater here called the Paramount Theater in Seattle, and in the first section, that's where I was dumping off my junky little hoodie that I was wearing, because I had to get down to the photo pit and all this. And this guy came down there and wanted to take a picture with me. And I'm kind of like, with me? I know I'm nobody. What do you want a picture with me? What I didn't realize was that he's been following me on social media. So he saw all the
Oh.
stuff I was doing, and so he knew my name and knew some other things I'd done. So I thought, this is kind of cool. It's a little odd too, because I just don't look at myself that way. And then it's happened a few other times when I'll be waiting outside the pit with my camera bag or whatever. And sometimes you see the same fans, which is fine. But other times, there'll be some random person. It's like, hey, man, can I get a picture with you? And I'm like, sure, okay. And I'll always ask them now, how do you know me? Because I don't know who you are. And they'll start saying, oh, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. I see all the stuff that you do. Oh, okay, that's cool. And then we just kind of talk shop about whatever. But that initial thing, because I'm not an extroverted person at all. So when you kind of come into my circle, I get a little bit like, hey, who are you? What do you want?
Personal space.
Yeah,
You-
and I'm kind of the same way that I try to be mindful of people that I'm approaching. It's like you don't know what this person actually is like, so maybe they're kind of weirded out by it, or just kind of just be cool. Don't be like, oh, all fanboy or whatever, because then that just makes them feel kind of weird and awkward. It's not a good experience.
I've found that it's actually pretty common is, a lot of performers, it seems like you would think that they're very, extroverted people because they're, either on stage or in the ring putting in a big performance, but they're usually like pretty reserved and quiet, just like me. I mean, I'm a really quiet, reserved kind of person, but, when I'm out there in the ring, you wouldn't, think that. And then, like a lot of people always come up and, take the photographs after the show and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, who does that kind of thing after a show? Who would want to take a picture with you?
well, that's my favorite part of wrestling is the kids.
Aw.
After every show, like I don't know what it is about my like persona in the ring but like all the kids always come up to me and they, like I'm their favorite.
Yeah, and I saw that firsthand yesterday because as I was waiting so that people can get their pictures, it was a stream of kids and teenagers that they all came to you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, if it's the long hair or the tattoos or what, but like the kids think I'm cool.
I
Well,
think that's awesome.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I love it. I love it too. Like I hope to hopefully inspire one of those kids to get in the ring, and keep it going one day.
yeah, and even from like a wrestling standpoint, that means that as a technical or a good guy, you're doing your job because that's how you're influencing the crowd. Like they want to come say hi to you and get a picture with you because if you're the villain or the rudo, then they'll be like, I don't want anything to do with that guy.
Oh
You're a
yeah,
bad person, and that kind of thing.
and
So.
it helps when you win.
Yeah, that's really cool, and that's true too. I think about some of the people that I've interviewed in person, and I'll do my research, of course, ahead of time to kind of get a flavor for what that person's like in other interviews. But sometimes, if there's not much out there on them, I don't know what kind of person I'm going to get, personality-wise. So some of them are exactly really, really reserved, very introverted. So I have to kind of tread lightly. And then I've had a few extroverts, and those are like the ones that kind of make me go like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize she was going to be so in my face and stuff." And one of the opera singers that I interviewed last year, she was awesome. She was great. Don't get me wrong, but she was so extroverted and just like, it's kind of like, whoa, okay. That was it made the interview easy because she talked a lot, but it totally caught me off guard because the other two that I've interviewed are just very professional, kind of in the mid area. They're not super introverted or extroverted, but she was just like, I'm like, oh my god. And you only get one shot at doing those in persons because typically they won't be back, especially for the opera stuff because they do everything internationally. But even with bands, could have been a super long drive from the last city to this city. Someone's under the weather, and so when you
Yeah.
get on there, yeah, you got like 10 minutes, and especially if you're going like into a tour bus, that's their home. So that's the way I view it. Be professional, have your stuff together, don't be really intrusive, and then kind of see what they give you, and then you can kind of work from it. But yeah, there's been times when I think I talked about this on one of the live streams where there was 4 media people to go on the tour bus to interview Doyle from the Misfits.
Mm.
Mm,
Big ripped dude with the makeup and the double lock
yeah.
hair in front of his face. He has a solo band called Doyle, and I was third. I was the fourth one out of the 4. So the third guy was on the bus. He lasted maybe a minute, and then he came right off the bus. And I'm kind of like, well, that was really fast. What happened there? Tour manager comes out and said, Mark, you got 15 minutes, and whatever you do, don't F this up, basically. I was like, whoa, what? I haven't even been on the bus yet. What happened? He said, that last guy asked some questions that Doyle didn't like. So he basically ended the interview and kicked him off the bus.
Oh, wow.
Yikes.
What kind of
Yeah.
question, I wonder?
Well, through the grapevine, it sounded like he was trying to basically goad him. So asking questions that were going to get these almost like clickbait kind of answers that he can kind of take little snippets of to throw online through social media. And basically, which is really stupid, but make him look not very good. So it's like,
Oh,
so like if I was interviewing Anne, it's like, why would you ask questions that kind of make you defensive or upset or something as a media person? It's like you're trying to make your guests hopefully look good and get the word out about what they're doing. And this guy was just all about himself apparently, and that's why Doyle wasn't having it. He kicked him
mm,
right off the bus. But that means for me, I'm like, great. Now I have to go on next. I got to try to see if he'll kind of calm down because I didn't know him at that point. That was my first interview I ever did with him back in 2015. And luckily, he kind of chilled out. We have a love of football in common, so we could talk about the Giants and the Seahawks. And then, yeah, that interview actually went really well. And I've interviewed him 2 times since. But I wanted to find that guy that screwed it up because see when you act like that, it's not just you. Now it affects everybody else around
that's
you.
true.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah, at least be professional. my goodness, but some people they're not thinking that way at all. They're just thinking about themselves.
Mm.
Mm.
Crazy
I wonder
stuff.
what questions like. Wonder.
Well, I know one thing that I believe it was the tour manager kind of mentioned to me was that this guy was kind of picking at Doyle's girlfriend, who's also in a very well-known band. And
Mm.
I think that's probably what totally triggered him, which rightfully so. I would be triggered too if someone starts asking questions about my girlfriend or my wife or whoever and saying it in a not real nice way.
Jesus.
So again, it's like, what are you thinking? Why are you even there? So yeah, he got banned from doing anything in the future with him ever. They put his name, sent it off to the publicist, the whole 9 yards. So that's the other side that people don't see from the media world. That sometimes, unfortunately, we have to deal with the indirect, aspect of that kind of thing. But luckily, he was, Doyle handled it well in terms of having me come on next, and was realizing he's a different person, and just kind of calm down. This guy's not the same jerk as this person that you just kicked off the bus, but. Yeah, if you've ever seen that dude in person, I mean, he's intimidating. So like, that's just another aspect of like, why would you, not that you should do it at all anyway, but still, I mean, some dude that could basically crush you. Why would you talk, mess to him? But again, I've had 2 other ones with me, and he always recognizes me and gives me a bad time. So I was like, okay, I know I'm good. Annie, have you ever experienced anything like that, or Halcon, if you've done an interview or something where it was like, it doesn't have to be bad, but maybe it was just a little awkward. They weren't prepared or something.
I think, like whenever I talk to, because I do both ways, I can do foreign media and Korean media. But like in my opinion, I prefer foreign media more because they ask more interesting questions. But like in Korean media, it's very kind of generic. And like I would have to explain from the start because there's no research yet. And it's a little, it's a little boring for me to be honest. But I don't know. But all the foreign media I've, got in touch with, they ask all the interesting questions and stuff like that. So I don't know. But I think it's a cultural thing too, because like in Korea, we're very kind of reserved, I guess. And then, they love I don't know. Like I don't know how to explain this. So like in Korea, our music is like labeled as 몽환적, which means like it's dreamy. And that's about it. In a way. Like I don't know if it's a good thing, but like it's a good thing for people to understand what kind of music and the vibe is, which I get it, but it's for me, like in my band, like for me and Toby, it's like it doesn't really, tell about anything about the music, so I think it's a little different. Like it works in Korea, but I prefer more, interesting stuff in the States, or any other foreign media, I guess.
Oh,
If that
oh,
makes any sense.
okay, no, that's interesting. How has it been when you've had maybe interviewers are from, like, say, a European country or somewhere it's not a non-English speaking country first? So if it's
Hmm.
Italy or Germany or something like that, do
Hmm.
they basically try to communicate with you in English or broken English?
Mostly English. I think like all the foreigners speak English really well, in my opinion. So it never has been a problem so far. Yeah.
Okay, but that's totally random. But I'm kind of curious. Your English is really really good,
Uh-huh.
and like when we first did the interview with Mike, if I didn't know better, I would have thought maybe you spent time in America or something.
I did,
And
I did.
oh,
Well,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I was born here in Korea, but my dad was doing PhD and postdoctor in UCLA. So
Mm.
I lived in LA for 6 7 years when I was young, super super young. So I kind of have that pronunciation tucked in, but like because of our education system, like we totally like screw it up. So like we would, they would teach grammar and stuff like very much influenced by the Japanese education system. So for me, like I had the pronunciation. I can like, sing songs and stuff, but like, talking a conversate having a conversation was, I couldn't do it for, I can't remember. But funnily enough, I watched Friends when it came out like in the late 90s and the 2000s, and it came back. Like it's somewhere over in my head, somewhere like hidden in my head somewhere, and then it kind of came back. And I do have a funny story about that, because like I do translations and interpretations for like side work, because I need to like pay the rent and stuff. So I did work on this documentary about like dog meat industry in Korea. For some reason, I hooked up with Humane Society International. That's how I got my dog. And then they hooked me up to this, production, which apparently was produced and directed by Kevin Bright, who was the executive producer and director of Friends. So yeah,
Mm.
I became friends with him. Like seriously, like he bought me like vinyls and stuff. So I and yeah, I did the whole interpretation for that documentary, which is on YouTube. If you guys want to check it out, it's called Nurangi. You type Nurangi and it's there. Yeah, but apparently he had adopted a dog from Korea, a Jindo dog, which was, supposed to be a meat dog, like my own dog. And then because his wife is in a organization saving those type of meat dogs from Korea. So that's how they started it, and I got to know him. And then I, thanked him for for bringing my English back. It's literally what that's what happened. Like I really owe him a lot.
What a small world that you're watching the Friends TV show and then you end up doing work and then meeting the producer of the show. I mean, what
I
a
know.
that's a bizarre coincidence. I mean, it's an amazing one, but
Yeah,
oh my
it was
gosh,
awesome. Really, really awesome.
wow, okay.
Oh, I wish I was more bilingual. My Spanish is awful. Awful. And it's really weird because so in the ring I can speak Spanish, and in the wrestling world I can speak Spanish, but conversational it's not very good. But because
Oh,
I trained in lucha libre and we speak Spanish there, so all of that is good, but outside of the ring it's not so great.
well, at least you know some. Like I don't know Japanese. My parents don't know Japanese, and I'm a fourth generation here in America, so I'm more Americanized than anything. Um, but I wanted to kind of also go back, Halcon, to you when it comes to like doing any kind of interview stuff. Has it been pretty like good experiences? Or is anything kind of stick out in your head that's been kind of odd or something? Because Annie kind of talked about the foreign versus local in South Korea. And then,
Hmm.
like for yourself, what's it been like over the years?
Oh, I've been so lucky because everybody that has interviewed me has just been so interested in lucha libre, and just like super nice, super polite. What is really weird is when people meet me in person and
Hmm.
they see sort of how small I am. Because I've done a handful of just like sort of like this, like interviews over the internet and that kind of thing. And then I actually ran into somebody who interviewed me, and we had previously, it was for Grit City magazine, and everything was just all over the internet, and then I met him in person, and he was, like 6'3".
Oh,
And when he saw me, he said, I pictured you to be much, much bigger. And I said, I know, but I'm, small, and it works for me because I can fly all over the place. And he said, well, I never even thought of that, but I guess there are wrestlers of all different sizes.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess I had the reverse of that because I saw you wrestle first before we did these interviews, in this medium. So I knew like your height and everything. But again, for me, it's been weird too. And I don't know what it is because if some people only know me through this and then they meet me locally, I get the same thing about I thought you'd be taller.
yeah.
I'm like,
Oh yeah.
what?
When people see pictures of me, and I'm a pretty muscular guy, but they see me in the ring and they imagine that I'm so much bigger than I really am. But and I thank the photographers for that.
But
Yeah,
does
they
it
do such a great job.
but because you're a little, height wise, I think you can, be more like explosive in a way. Like cuz like I'm kind of a nerd in WWE. Like I'm not watching it now, but I used to, and
Oh
like
yes. So if you
yeah,
can imagine like Rey Mysterio. So me
exactly.
and
Like I'm
yeah,
619
yes, exactly. So when I
like
first started wrestling, it's funny that you say that. So when I first started, I wore a different style of mask, and I have a big tattoo on my back. I didn't have long hair, and I wore the military camo style pants. And every show, somebody would start chanting Rey Mysterio because I look so much like him. And I mean, I really took it as a compliment. If people
yeah,
were
he's
gonna, yeah, like he's the
what
best.
what I
So,
can't I remember when I first saw 619, I was like, "What the?" Like, that
yeah,
was
it was
so
so
cool.
awesome. Yeah,
I mean,
and
like here it's like, like in Korea, like wrestling is not a thing. I don't know. Like in the 80s, I guess when I was growing up, like, when WWF was a thing,
yeah,
like we watched it on TV, and then like Warrior like was
yeah,
really huge. Hogan was really huge, and for me like my favorite was Macho Man.
oh yeah,
But yeah, but I don't know, like it kind of dwindled, like the popularity dwindled, and I think we do have like a wrestling association here, but they're not doing interesting stuff yet, so they're just only doing projects for children in hospitals or something like that. That's what I
mhm,
heard. And like for me, like what that's the only experience that I get to have. It's like just only on television. And then like so I would like my dream was, one of my dreams were to, when Stone Cold Steve Austin was super super popular. I wanted to just have a ticket, go that place, and just have a cardboard cutout like says 316.
yeah.
I don't, yeah, just that was my dream to do that. This,
I mean,
but
yeah, we did that. So my oldest son, he was a huge Rey Mysterio fan when he was little, and so I took him to a pay-per-view, to a SummerSlam, and we did that. We made the big sign, and he cut out pictures from the magazine and glued it on there, and it said, "Rey Mysterio, you're the best." So,
Oh yeah, I mean, wish we had that culture here. It's a little because I'm like the only girl that loved wrestling. To be honest, like
mm,
whenever it's on television, I watch with my friends, and my friends are usually dudes, and they love it. But when the other girls were like, "Oh, that's so like gruesome. How are you watching?" I'm like, "Die, kill," you know.
yeah, we had a female wrestler at the show on the card yesterday, and a lot of fans love it now. Like female wrestling is, like the females are getting to be just as big, if not bigger than the male stars now. They're really pushing it, so there's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities for them.
Yeah, like I wish we had that. Listen, I know like Japan. has a huge scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Singapore has some scene there at least, but here it's like, uh, I wish, I wish.
Yeah, I mean it's so awesome, especially like the show that Mark came to yesterday, the small local shows. They're the fans. I think they have a better time there because they're so close to the ring.
Oh,
And it's like, you go to the big shows, you're sitting in the stands so far away, which there's big stars there, but it's not the same as when you can get into the wrestling ring after the show is over and let the kids all play around and everything. And that's one of the best things about Lucha Libre is we do a lot of these shows in the communities, and the people feel like they're really a part of the show. Just like like the smaller clubs where rock bands perform.
mm,
Like a lot of them feel like, yeah, like these smaller venues are more intimate and the crowd is more, a part of the show, as opposed to, going to a big stadium and, you're so far away from the band, and, like the further out you get, the music is all distorted and you can't even really hear what's going on.
yeah.
Like
Oh,
I've seen Metallica twice, and the first time I saw him, I was right on the stage, like right there. Thought I was gonna go down, And then the second time I saw him, I was probably as far away. I was like in the second to last row of seats, and like you couldn't
it's
even
yeah, it's
like,
different.
yeah. So like the smaller venues just make the audience feel like they're a part of the show.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
I can actually interject into that, especially from the wrestling thing in terms of the small versus big. I went to WrestleMania 19 here, which was in the
Oh.
big.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, so I this was back in 2003, I want to say, and so
Mm.
I've kind of gotten in and out with my interest in WWE and wrestling and that kind of thing. But at that time, I was like way into it.
That
Um,
was actually Rey Mysterio's first WrestleMania.
yep, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wrestled Matt Hardy.
Yep.
Matt
Yeah.
Hardy.
Yeah.
The Hardy
But
Boys.
yeah, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff.
Like rock star wrestlers.
Ooh.
I've got some stories there. So WrestleMania was held at that time at Safeco Field, which is where the Salem Mariners played. Now it's called T-Mobile Park. So held like 70,000 people or whatever it was at that time. Some kind of record it was set. But we were in like the 200 level, which is called the Terrace Club level. And yeah, I mean, even when that Big Show was on the card and Undertaker was on the card, these huge dudes, but we're so far away that all you can't really see everything other than what's on the screens. And
Mm-hmm.
then you just hear
Yeah.
you hear the bodies hitting the mat when they're getting body slammed. But it was like when you're trying to actually watch it, it was like you're so far removed from it. It wasn't as cool as it could have been. But I can't afford those, $1,000 seats or whatever they were, right, down by the ring for WrestleMania. But what I can tell you is that, and I think they still do this. They were doing the Fan Fest access things where you can meet some of the wrestlers, and they have other little things going on. Back then, they wouldn't tell you who was going to be at your session, so you bought a ticket for like $20 or whatever, and you just kind of hope that one of your favorite wrestlers, if it's Rey Mysterio or somebody, was going to be there. And so I bought a bunch of 8x10s of different wrestlers that I like online, because they weren't selling those which is kind of dumb. They weren't selling them at the event. So I had these in my little bags. Like, well, I don't know who's going to be here, but hopefully one of these guys will be here. And so I went to 2 sessions. I went to Thursday and I went to Friday night. And Thursday, the Hurricane was there, which is Shane Helms. He's with the comic book mask and stuff. He was there, so I got a picture with him. The late Eddie Guerrero was there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, I got a picture with Eddie and Chavo.
Wow.
That session. Yeah, and he was super cool, and he was kind of giving people crap because he was a heel at that time. So he was kind of pseudo in character, and then he'd be real super nice to you once he was out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the best memories for me. They had literally a wrestling ring inside the event area, and so sometimes wrestlers would come into the ring and just talk on the mic and maybe answer some questions from the fans. And The Rock came out, Yeah, so almost like
When he
everyone
was super hot.
yeah, everyone just whatever else they were doing when they heard him on the mic, they all went to the ring. They listened to try to get close. I got pictures from way far away, of him, answering questions. He didn't sign anything that day. He was just
Mm.
talking from the ring. And then I saw a bunch of people run over to this other area. And it's like, well, who's over there? Who's over there? And Stone Cold would come out.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he was at the table and he was signing stuff. So the line was going, I mean, all around. And so I'm like, I'm not going to even be able to get up there because I think they said he was going to sign for like 30 minutes. So I'm like, well, I'll just watch from the side once people get to meet him or whatever. So that was the first night. And then the second night I went back. I'm a huge Kurt Angle fan.
I love
So
Kurt
Yeah.
Angle. Drinking milk.
Yeah.
That was funny.
The three eyes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, intensity. What's it?
Integrity and
and
intelligence.
yeah.
Very dorky.
It's true. It's damn true.
he's he was such a good mix of the talent, the real life talent, obviously being a gold medal winner behind it,
Yeah.
and being so straight faced that it was funny. One of the stuff that he would say or do. But that was the match where he had messed up his neck, so we didn't even know if he was going to wrestle in it, and it turns out he was going to try to power through it. And he's wrestling Brock Lesnar, who was on his team.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was
when I think Brock Lesnar did a kind of like a backflip off of the top rope, or and he landed kind of awkwardly.
Exactly. Yeah, he did a shooting star press off the
Yes,
top rope.
yeah.
And so it was. What I remember of that was like, so I had my 8x10s and stuff, and I'm looking around. The Undertaker came out. So oh, that's really cool. I'd love to meet him. And then the line was already doing that. I was like, God damn it. So, and then because they had like different stations, maybe 3 or 4 signing stations. So you got to kind of make your mind, who do you really want? And then after the Undertaker was signed for maybe 10 minutes, I saw Kurt walk out to another table. So, oh, I got to get in that line. So I got his autograph, got to shake his hand. And then Brock came out right next to him. So Brock came out. So I got to meet him before he was this huge, MMA champion and everything else. And I can tell you this, Brock over the years has got, I think, kind of a bad reputation of how he is with the fans, because there's one thing that went viral when someone's trying to bug him at the airport with he and his wife. And he was like, no, I'm not going to take a picture with you or whatever. And it's like, these guys all know, especially in like a fan paid event, they know how to treat the fans because they realize without us, you're nothing. You're basically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him with not once but twice get up from his table and come up and kneel down by little kids to talk to them.
Wow.
So yeah, imagine big ass Brock Lesnar acting like this, like gentle giant, with little kids, and just, hey, how are you? And, am I your favorite wrestler? Are you gonna be rooting for me on Sunday? And one of the kids said no.
Kids are brutal.
They're honest. They are honest.
It was funny. That kid said, I'm rooting for Kurt. He pointed to Kurt next to him. Said, oh, come on, you have to root for me. But he was super sweet with them. And then I happened to be one of the next people that went up to him. I told him, I'm so looking forward to your guys' match. It's going to be probably the match of the night. And at that point, I don't know if he knew that it was going to end the card for WrestleMania, but he said, man, I really appreciate that. And, Kurt and I have our amateur backgrounds. Obviously, he has a gold medal, but I need to get this. I need to get this on Sunday so I can kind of even myself up against him, but we'll see what happens. He couldn't have been cooler at that time when I got a chance to meet him. But I do remember that, during the actual match, there was rumors online that when he was in OVW, which is the developmental territory for WWE, that he was doing a shooting star press, and big guys don't do stuff off the top rope. Halcon
I mean, whew.
So when he got up on that rope, you could see everybody in the audience just stand up. You're like, oh crap, is he actually going to do what we heard he did back in the day? And I remember seeing him, and Kurt was over here, and I'm like, that looks like a far way for him to jump up and spin and land on him.
Yeah.
Sure enough, it was, because his head went right into Kurt's body and gave him a concussion.
Yeah, and I mean that's so scary when guys are doing those kind of moves. It's just, I mean, everything can happen in a split second, to where, I mean, I've even had it happen to me to where I'm on the top rope and I'm gonna, jump off, and I've lost my footing or something, but when you're up there, I mean, you gotta go, you can't, dilly dally or whatever, it's like you made that commitment, you know what I mean? You're up there, you gotta make it happen. But yeah, it's really scary. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of injuries in, the wrestling ring, and I mean, like,
But aren't they like pre-choreographed though? Like,
well, but the moves itself, like you got to hit it, correctly. Like whatever move you're trying to do, like, Brock doing that shooting star press, he just didn't get his rotation enough. You know what I mean?
mm,
And so, like, you can do something a million times, you know. It's just like I've seen video compilations of like Slash, messing up songs or whatever. You play Sweet Child of Mine 100 million times, you're still maybe that one time you're not feeling good or whatever, and hit a wrong note or two. And it's the same with us, like you have to be totally prepared, to execute all your moves. If one thing goes wrong, you could get really injured.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so I mean, what I understand is that with wrestling matches, that a lot of times pre-match, they might be kind of go over like certain spots they're going to do, and then even in the ring, they might call out a spot. Hey, I'm going to throw you into the corner, and then we're going to do this. But when it comes to actually executing it, you just hope that you hit it right. And that's
Mm.
unfortunately how those injuries work. And yeah, in that case with Brock, like he's talked about later, he said, I didn't know what was going on at that point. I don't know how I finished the match. Kurt had to kind of tell me what to do, and I just kind of, I guess, through just muscle memory, just started doing, because he had to do like an F5 or maybe two F5s to Kurt or something just to end the match. Because, and you see it, it's all on the DVD or the Blu-ray or whatever, that he's, lights are on, but no one's home. And you can see in
Yeah.
Brock's eyes, he doesn't know what's going on. I remember he missed the next night's Raw, which they always do on Monday night right after WrestleMania. Kurt's next was jacked up and he went in for his surgery. So it's like,
Oh,
yeah, it's like I have a healthy respect for what professional wrestlers do and the sacrifices they make to entertain people like me, because yeah, it can go bad real quick.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
for me, like I always thought the Hardy Boys, should take a break a little because like they're
Whew.
throwing themselves all the time, and
Yeah.
as fans, you worry, like they're just the highest jumpers, and like you want them to be,
Yeah.
it's
Oh my
super
god.
entertaining, but you want them to be safe too.
Yeah, they did all those tables, ladders, and chairs matches, and
Yeah.
oh man, I mean, I don't even like getting hit in the head with a chair, like when we have to do it, I'm just like, oh no, here we go. And like,
Oh.
I mean, I've been in matches where, it just happens out of the blue. It's, we're outside of the ring and someone grabs a chair and it's like, oh, here we go. But I think it's similar back into the music world. One of the bands that I'm a big fan of, the Drive By Truckers, they used to go into their concerts without a predetermined set list. And they said they would just
That's
like,
so funny.
yeah, they said they would just like call it. They would like just sort of feel it out, and like go from one song to the next, and just kind of feel it out, what they wanted to play that night. And I always thought that would be super cool. Like if you have your whole music library to pull from, and then you're just like, hey, we're gonna play these songs tonight or those songs, and I always thought that would be really cool. Like if you're, I mean, you can do that if you're good musicians, but I mean, that'd just be really exciting.
I mean, with those kind of like, if you do stuff like that, I think it's more catered to rock bands, like simple rock bands, just
Yeah.
drum and bass and guitar and vocalist maybe. Then I think you can do that. But like electronic bands like us, or that has other elements to deal with, then it's a little harder. Like you can't, because you can't, sometimes you do need like MIDI controls, or you need a backtrack or something like that. There's
Mm,
other things to consider, and it's really hard to do it on the fly. But yeah, I mean, if you're just like Green Day, then
yeah.
because I remember watching NoFX. They came to Korea And well, they did a show at this venue that which hold probably like 300 people, I guess. And because that the reason why they did it small, because they were only just, I think Korea at that point was like they're just stopping by. They come to Japan, possibly
Uh,
doing a show in China, and somehow a promoter said, "Why don't you come to Korea?" And that's what happened, I think. And then the audience were like 90% army people, US Army people.
oh, my guys.
Yeah. So I think 95%, I think. So it's like, it was sold out very, very soon. And then we were only invited because we knew the promoters, and like they were like, it's no effects, you want to see it. So we went there, but they were like, performing like crazy, like on nonstop.
Yeah.
And then, somebody, I think one of the members messed up a little, and they were like, Fat Mike was like, "Oh, we're not Green Day. It's fine. Nobody fucking cares."
Yeah.
I thought that was so hilarious. They're like, "We're not Green Day. We're not Bad Religion. So whatever." Like they're just moving on. So yeah, if you're a punk rock band with that spirit, I think that's doable.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool. I remember that when my duo played music around town, kind of like what Halcon was talking about. We'd played this one song which was from Phantom of the Opera. I don't know, maybe like a dozen times, and I always started off the verses, and I just had a complete brain fart. I knew the chord and everything, but I was like, "What the hell's the lyric and where's the melody?" And what I'm like, and my singer's kind of looking at me trying to help me with it. I'm like, this is just in a coffee shop, so it's not some huge crowd or anything, but still, I'm like, fuck, how come I can't remember this? So it must have taken me at least a good 30 seconds. And then eventually, oh, that's right. Okay, here's how it goes. And sometimes it just kind of happens, no matter how well rehearsed you are or how many times you've played or done a move or something. It just kind of happens. And just kind of also slide in real quick. Annie, you mentioned about the Hardy Boys and, hoping that they would maybe back off a little bit to kind of help, take care of themselves because they're doing some brutal matches.
Yeah.
I met both of them at that WrestleMania Access.
That's so cool.
Matt had his book out at the time, so I went and bought the book from the table, and he was doing that version 1.0 of Matt Hardy. That was his character gimmick. And so I talked to him. I said, "Are we going to get like a version 2.0 at some point?" He said, "Oh, I don't know if we're ready for 2.0." And I said, "What about version Pi? If you're Matt version Pi." He was laughing about that. And then Jeff was, self-professed. He considers himself an oddball, and he's just extremely, extremely artistic. Is what I found from talking to that guy. Very quiet, super nice. But if you start talking to him about bands or painting or motocross, then he starts coming out of his shell. But that was, looking back, I didn't realize like how lucky I was to meet that era of people all in the first few days.
That was the golden, like juiciest. Like the storylines were awesome, funny.
Yeah, because even like that at WrestleMania, that's the one when they teased that Goldberg was coming to the WWE. And the very next night at Raw at Key Arena, I was there, and in the back row, and then all the buzz around there because it's all these WrestleMania fans from literally all around the world in this 18,000 seat arena saying Goldberg's got to be making his debut tonight. He's got to be making his debut because they showed that thing on the WrestleMania of Jumbotron. And yeah, the last thing when I think it was The Rock was talking crap or something in the ring, then his music hit, and then the place just erupted and just went nuts when he came out, breathing fire, and all that kind of thing. Yeah, again, at the time, I thought, this is really cool, but I didn't realize how cool it was until I look back on it, almost 20 years later now or whatever it's been, and think, damn, I got to see this guy.
Damn.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why my interest kind of started to wane after that, because like I met all the good ones or whatever.
Oh, damn.
All the legends.
I remember like watching The Rock doing People's Elbow for the first time. I thought that is some funky stuff. Like it's like I don't think it's a very. It's not like a hitting attacking skill. It's more like a performance.
Yeah,
And
that's what makes them so great is
I know.
he can take, giving somebody a simple elbow drop and turning it into something spectacular that you
Ooh,
gotta see.
it was mind blowing.
Yeah. Like there was one time he did it when he was like still in his like street clothes. He was in his slacks and his dress shoes and he like slid, he like jumped over and sort of slid and then did it. And just making something simple look so cool.
I
That's
It's
what
so
makes those guys
creative.
so good.
Yeah, but I heard
Yeah.
these days like it's like having a real comeback. Like my friend who still watches like WWE like religiously, he said you have to watch now because it's like they're kids and like the techniques from Japan
Oh
is
yeah.
like super, so they're doing really cool stuff. I really want to watch it, but
Yeah, they're oh go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean I heard a rumor about it's coming on Netflix. I hope that's true. If it's true,
Yeah.
I'll watch it every
It
day.
it
I
it
saw that too, but I haven't really looked into it. But I did see that I think WWE is coming to Netflix.
it's true. I don't know when the month starts, but that's the new contract for the TV rights is with Netflix. Yeah.
But right now, Rey Mysterio's son is in the middle of a really great, storyline, and he's gained a lot of popularity.
Do they
And
wear the same clothes or something?
no, but they actually wrestled each other. I think it was, if not the last WrestleMania, then the WrestleMania before that. It was
That's
father
so
versus
cool.
son.
That's so cool. Very cool.
But yeah, I mean whew. And it just makes you realize how long these guys have been doing it, to where he had a kid and old enough now to wrestle. And my son, me and him wrestled together. We were the tag team champs for a little while up here at Volcanica. So, you know,
That's so cool.
because I'm like you, when I was a kid, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, these guys were all larger than life, and it's so great to see them. So I think every generation, like those kids, are going to have great memories of what wrestling was like for them when they were young.
Yeah. And if they grew up with watching Stone Cold Steve Austin and stuff like that, that'll be
Oh, yeah.
extra cool.
Yeah, and if you have parents that are into wrestling, so like me, my son watched all the old stuff with me, like the old DVDs and all of that kind of thing. So, he likes all the old stuff, likes the new stuff, you know.
Yeah, that would be like if I had kids and they have seen wrestling, they would have seen certain bands from a certain
Oh,
era, all that stuff that I'm into. They would have been exposed to it for sure.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the same with the music. Your parents have a heavy influence on what kind of music, you enjoy and that kind of thing.
True, true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Halcon during one of our interviews we talked about like I think your first concert was Def Leppard. Was that right?
Def Leppard, yeah. My mom took me to see Def Leppard when I was in middle school, and it was the greatest moment ever. I loved Def Leppard so much when I was a kid because MTV was just coming around when I was a kid, and so I had posters all over my wall of Def Leppard. It was I don't know what it was about them. I saw one of their music videos and I was just hooked. I was like, I love these guys. Like Def Leppard is my band. Like I thought Joel Elliott, the lead singer, was so cool. He wore the Union Jack wristbands and I was like, oh man, he's so cool.
Any ch- any chance you're going to see them next Wednesday when they're here?
No, I'm not gonna be able to see him. My mom actually went and saw them last week in Dallas when they were there, and she always sends me videos. She still goes to concerts all the time. She'll send me little, videos. She'll whip out her phone, and they played Rock Till You Drop when they like came out to the stage. That was like their opening number, and it was just so cool, like to see them. The music started, the smoke, then out they come. I mean, it's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, my mom, she's been the best. We went. She took me to see Prince. A long time
Wow.
ago. In Texas, of course, we saw George Strait. At Texas Stadium. But yeah, my mom was a heavy influence on me.
That's cool. You met my mom yesterday at the wrestling match, and I'll be with her at Def Leppard next week. So,
Oh, you guys are gonna have such an amazing time.
yeah, she's never seen them, and the only time I ever saw Def Leppard was back in 1983 on the Pyromania tour. So it's been a
Oh,
long time for me.
oh yeah. So man, that was before Hysteria.
Yep. Yeah, they played the Seattle Coliseum. They're opening for Billy Squier, and I'm not exaggerating. When Def Leppard set was done, half the arena left.
Oh,
Oh wow.
Yeah, they were only there for them, and I'm like, you don't want to at least hang around a little bit to see what the headliner's like. 'Cause I like Billy Squier's stuff, and he actually put on a really good show. But yeah, I felt kind of bad for him that literally all these people took off after Def Leppard's set.
I'm a huge Billy Squier fan. Also, when I was little, my mom had a book, and it was like a short book of making the album Emotions in Motion. And I remember reading, like flipping through that book, and that was the album cover that had his face with the 3 different colors. And but yeah, I mean, just having a house that was filled with music and books, it was just, it's like a treasure trove of being able to explore your own house and, like, music and books and art and that kind of thing. I think it really broadens your horizon and, just opens up a whole new world to you.
Yeah. Annie, what about for you? Like, growing up, you had music around the house or books as well, like Halcon's talking about, or what was your experience like?
Well, my mom is like crazy into classical music, like still. She annoys me a lot because whenever I have to like, go to, have a nap like a sleepover or something like that, she would constantly listen to classical music radio and just like drives me nuts. But she listened to a lot of Beatles, Bee Gees, Queen. She loved Queen. I don't think she knew they were, Freddie was gay, but but it was funny because like later on I knew, and then that's odd. But anyways, like she loved I think it's because of their music is so classical. So whatever has that, element into their music, she kind of loved it. And but for me, like, it was weird because, like, I definitely had a lot of influence on from her, what kind of she loved a lot of different, like, pop songs and stuff like that. But, I for me, like, I grew up in the '80s in LA, so for me, like, I was obsessed with Cyndi Lauper. And,
Hmm.
yeah, I was, listening to Michael Jackson, and that era, like Madonna and you know, I know all the '80s songs for some reason. So, but I kind of wish my mom listened a little bit more like Motown, I guess, because like I kind of that's not in my childhood. Like I didn't knew it exists, so I kind of knew it later. Like I digged up later. And, I think that's what I do these days, like, whenever I don't make music, then I just go back and see what interesting stuff happened in the '60s or the '70s. Like, I think it's more interesting to hear back and get in awe like, they like, for example, like Pink Floyd or something like that, then I would
Oh yeah.
yeah, listen to those songs that made them so great and then, like, can't believe they did that in that era, you know what I mean? Like, and then, you catch up stuff that, influences you later on, but yeah, I mean, '80s was awesome, like, it's all the synth synth pop, dance tracks and, like, this is good stuff.
Yeah. My dad actually huge Motown fan, so like I got it from my mom and my dad. My dad loved Motown, even like other soul artists. Like he loved Percy Sledge. I love Percy Sledge. He's sings "When a Man Loves a Woman," and he's got so many great songs. And like you said, going back and listening to old music And what's really good to do is just put on an album, and then you can hear, an album in its entirety, because a lot of times you just hear like the big hits off of an
True.
album or something. But
Yeah.
there's so many hidden gems, and like all these great old artists, that, I don't know, like you might not hear them on the radio or anything, and they're just like out there waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, those oldies, like, they're more progressive than these days music, in my opinion. Because, like, I think these days music is more, like, especially in the pop world and especially in the K-pop world, everything's so, like, manufactured, overly produced, and, it's for the hits, not for the art in a way. So, yeah, it's a little like I don't really get so much influence by any of those songs anymore. Like it's not inspiring to me. And whenever I have a chance to go back and listen to the stuff that I missed, or even the stuff that I already know, like they those are the songs that inspire me the most, I guess, these days, for sure.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking, just to throw this out, since Annie, you mentioned about all the synth stuff in the 80s. Do you remember a band called Berlin?
Oh, Berlin.
Yeah.
Take my breath away.
Berlin. It was funny because, like, not related to Berlin, but I was watching Paris Olympics, the closing ceremony, and the Phoenix were playing, and some other artists keep popping up, and then I was like, "Oh, is that Air? Is that Air?" I was so surprised to see Air on TV. Like, that was amazing, actually.
Oh, I
And
love Air.
yeah, and then I was talking to my friends and who's Air? Like,
That album Moon Safari is one of
I
my favorite albums ever.
so, like, I have them listen to, have you heard Sexy Boy? And they were like, "Oh, is that Air?" You have to
My
listen to that album
Yes,
again.
my favorite song on that album is Remember. It's track 6.
Ah,
Remember together forever.
yeah, they're awesome. Like, so good.
Yeah, I used to work in a music store in the 90s, and we played that album all the time in the store.
It
Um
was so good. Even till this day, it's so good.
yeah.
Well, that also kind of, I remember something, Annie, that you said in the interview with Mike, that I think one of the bands you were into was Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did they ever play Korea at all at any time?
Yeah, I think they played 3 or 4 times, but I was there when they first came. It was the most amazing show I've ever seen because they came probably 2001 when actually they did the show in Korea and they broke up. And they
Mhm.
chose to do the last show in South Korea because at that time we were doing our government was trying to reconcile with North Korea, and there was this whole like 햇볕 정책 policy that they're helping each other, and then that's the reason they wanted to do their end show in Korea because they wanted peace. And well, it was funny because, like, at that time I remember 2001, it was still we weren't really like economically grown at that point, so the ticket prices seemed to be really really expensive to us at that time. I vividly remember. And they were one of the first bands who actually had like huge shows in Korea for the first time, because the band that came before them was Rage Against the Machine, and I got to see their show too. But the problem was, like, it's like a very expensive ticket, but like the Rage Against the Machine, they were awesome, they were perfect, but what they didn't do is like say hello to South Korea and then do an encore. You know what I mean? Like, there was like just doing their set perfectly and then just ran
Mm.
away. So I think that had a bad taste to a lot of audiences, and then that's the reason why the next la- the next concert that was kind of come up with Smashing Pumpkins. And I remember like Rage Against the Machine show was packed, but Smashing Pumpkins were like they were half like empty. But for me, like it's my one of my favorite bands ever. So I went there, and they did like 3 hours long show. Like they kept saying more and more and more. It was the most amazing show I've ever seen. And then I heard Billy Corgan was saying that that was one of the most interesting shows he had ever done because the crowd, how they interacted, even though it wasn't fully packed, but everybody was there was so insane. Like it was like I remember I was like kind of stuck in a like in between people, and we're like just swirling around. Like it was very, very dangerous in a way, but like it was the most magical night I've ever, experienced.
That's that's awesome, and it goes to show like when you have a half full arena, but the fans that are there are so into it,
Yeah.
it makes up for that fact that it's not a sellout, and you can have a sold out arena with a bunch of lamos in there that are sitting or whatever. And then that has an effect as well. I was reading about something about the Metallica show up in Edmonton, and some guy was saying he was up in the nosebleeds, standing up when Metallica came on, and people started throwing beer cans at him.
Oh.
They wanted him to sit down. I'm like, what's that about? I mean, I understand like if someone's maybe blocking your view after whatever, but it's Metallica. What are you doing sitting down? I don't understand that. If you can't stand that long and you're in the nosebleeds, I mean, I kind of see both sides of it a little, but you don't throw stuff at people, other fans. That's not. I'm going to be seeing them this Friday, so that's why I'm gonna like. People are gonna be throwing crap at me. I mean, I'm not in the nosebleeds, but I'm not dropped down, close either. So like, shit, that's not cool. But hey, I see it's kind of past our time, and again, Annie, it's been so great having you join us and talking with us from South Korea about wrestling. And now I know that you have that period when you're a big wrestling fan, and obviously having Halcon Negro, who is a wrestler, joining us and a big music fan. And this has been awesome to start off the 2024 Fun Table sessions this way with both of you. And I enjoyed it. Like I tell everybody, if I could schedule one of these once a week, I would do it. But just trying to schedule things, it's so tough. So I'm gonna try for a round two with somebody, and I definitely do have guests that do come back further down the road. If it's like, oh yeah, I remember doing that, Mark, I'll come back for another one. Who's going to be my my teammates on this one? Who am I going to mix it up with? So no, I think you guys. I think for people that are watching there that are being shy about coming into the comments, that's okay. You just listen. Maybe you're listening at work or whatever. I know that happens a lot. People tell me that after the fact. But again, Halcon Negro and Annie Co, thank you so much for joining me. And before we sign off, let's kind of go around. So Annie, what would you like? Anything you want to plug? What's coming up? Anything just in general so people can check you out?
Recently we released a song with XRL7, which is on all platforms. It's called Bitrate Love. You can watch it on YouTube. I did voiceovers for XRL7. It's a great animated series, and yeah, we're doing like preparing for our next album, which I'm guessing it'll come out next year. But just follow us on social media, and just DM me anytime.
All right, that's great. And Halcon, what do you got coming up?
Well, we have another show coming up in Seattle just in a couple of weeks, and then we have a big one to look out for in October, and that's going to be in Spokane. So we're taking it across the mountains, and that's going to be a huge one. And just check my social media for that, and see where I'm going to pop up next.
That's cool. Real quick, where's the one in Seattle in a couple of weeks?
I think. I don't know. I gotta check. But I just know it's with Volcanica again. So
okay. Well, we're connected via social media, so I'll definitely see what you post, or I'll bug you. Where's the next one at? So
damn, I want to be in the States. I can watch it. Damn.
I'm telling you, you gotta make the trip.
Oh man. Well, again, Annie, thank you so much. Halcon, thank you so much, and everybody watching, thank you. And hi, Mom. She's saying great fun table. So there she is in the chat. So thanks for watching, Mom, and everybody else out there. And yeah, have a great day, great week, and we'll reconnect when we reconnect. Just follow me on social media to know when my next live stream is.
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much. It was so much fun.
So much fun.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Alrighty.